I said before we start today's share, we got a big announcement to make. You heard it here first, Rabbi Say. You heard it here first, big announcement. Be'ez Hashem, after a lot of work, many hours of meetings and situations, my brand new website is about to be launched. Be'ez Hashem. Yad D'Shmaya. A lot of work, a lot of people behind the scenes working on different things. Chaz Hashem, we hope before Shavuos that the website will be live for the Olam. It's not just going to be shiurim. There's going to be ways of people printing out different things for hairs, tests, maybe even smicha programs, all sorts of things going on the website, Be'ez Hashem. We are asking the Olam, anybody wants to have their logo or their business, Efsha the car cleaning for Pesach, on the bottom of the website, and you want to have a sponsorship, partnering with the website so that all the people who will be going on will be able to see your name, your business, your logo, send us an email, office@basedavid.com. Okay, Rabbi Say, without any further ado, let's continue. The sugya of Tefillah is what we're dealing with, right? We're learning of Tefillah, we're learning the sugya of halachas of Tefillah, and I'll tell you, we'll start like this. Today's shir is actually b'schos Choshviyid, very Choshviyid actually, and he comes to me and he says to me like this. He says that after he missed the Zman Tefillah, so there's no point davening anymore. I'm like, huh? What does that mean? No, I missed the Zman. Once you miss the Zman, right on the calendar, right, you have the Luach over there. It's straight over there, what the Zman, Sof Zman Tefillah. Once I missed the Zman Tefillah, what's the point of davening? I'll wait till Mincha. Right, now you had this, again, obviously not here. There are certain yeshivas around the world where sometimes it happens, a guy wakes up late, once a month, once a zman. You know what I'm talking about, right? Not here, I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about in different places. They have these things sometimes. What can you do at Oines? What can you do? The guy was learning till late at night. He was by Chvais, he was by Ramaylich Sadloka, he was by Chvais, Tzibaya, whatever it was, and he's knocking away Kori Boin Olam. It's moiridik, right? You were there? You should have gone. I was like, much later. Anyway, so he wakes up late. I missed this month, so I'll put on tefillin by Mincha. How does it work? So Lemais, I decided, because of this Choshviyid that came to me and told me this, we need to spend a few minutes on Zmani Tefillah. What does it mean? Now, I'm not going to go through everything because that would take us like forever. But I just want to give like the Roshi Prokim, like the main point, so to speak, right? Not that I'm here to say who the main point is, but like just to give you like the basic ideas. What is Zman Tefillah? Zman Kriyas Shema? What can you do afterwards? V'chole. And these are important things. Again, it's not for you. It's when people call you up and they say, asking for a friend. What happens if a guy woke up right now? Right, I remember one time, I was once in the Beis Medrash on Shabbos afternoon. Can't remember what time it was. And a guy comes over to me. He was a bit embarrassed. He was whispering the Shaila. And he says to me, I just woke up. What do I have to do? I said, well, it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Nishkafela, we'll figure it out. He said, no. I went to sleep Erev Shabbos Kodesh, the Mincha Chassidim or Makbet, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, you go to sleep, and I just woke up now on Shabbos afternoon for the first time. I need Kiddush, I need Mikvah. This is what I was worried about. Mikvah, Kiddush, which one comes first? Kiddush on Friday night, how many Seders does he need, whatever, right? So it's amazing, right? Some people have these shaylas and some people don't have these shaylas. I met a guy one time, one of my neighbors. It wasn't in my building that I am now, my old building I used to live. And he says to me, after I came out with my sefer on Basar V'Cholov, he says to me, oh, by the way, I never have shaylas on Basar V'Cholov. I said, wow, really? Wow, that's choshev. Maybe you live in America and you have like 3 separate kitchens. You got your milchik kitchen in one floor, your fleischer kitchen on another floor. Maybe that's why you don't have shaylas, right? But you're in Eretz Yisrael, like how's it shay? What do you mean? He said, no, anytime we have a problem, we chuck it in the garbage. No such, we don't have shaylas, we just chuck everything, the clay, the utensil, the pot, the spoon, the food, everything goes in the garbage. We don't have shaylas, right? So again, when it comes to these things, when a person learns halacha, all of a sudden, he realizes that first of all, you can be a lot more makel than you thought originally. That's number one. And number two, you realize what a shayla is. So Rabbi said just a few minutes on Zmaning Tefillah. We have to understand, Chazal tell us that Zmanim is very important. Zmanim in general, right? In Yiddishkeit we know that there are different times for different things. Yomim Tovim have their times. Shabbos Kodesh is going all bound by time. We have a concept called mitzvahs aseiches mankurama. Women are generally potter from that. There's time-bound mitzvahs. There's mitzvahs that you can only do by day. There's mitzvahs you can only do by night. There's all sorts of things that we find throughout the Jewish calendar that very much depend on the time of year, time of day, v'chole v'chole. So when it comes to tefillah, it's the same thing. There is something called davening, which we've been speaking about for the last few days, tefillah, and now there's a new thing called zmanei tefillah. but they are separate. And that's important to remember. It's a Mefurish Gemara, we'll get to it. The Gemara tells us that if a person is late, which we'll get to, there's something called davening, and you get schar for that. You get a mitzvah of tefillah. Beautiful, whenever it is. But there's something called the schar of tefillah bizmana as well. Davening at the right time. If you miss the tefillah bizmana, you still get tefillah. You understand? That's a very important. That's very important. If you miss the zman, you still get the schar of davening. Okay, I didn't daven bizman, so I didn't get the zman I didn't get the schar of davening, but on the right time. But I still get the ma'aseh of the schar for davening b'chalal. So that's a very important thing. Let's start over here, Rabbi Isai. 2 halachas. Halacha number 1 is shachris. Halacha number 2 is krishma. Number shachris. Let's go. Brachas daf tesam base. Says the Gemara. We call people, it's interesting how we call it nowadays, vasikin. Did you daven vasikin, right? I daven vasikin, I don't daven vasikin. What does that mean? So it's interesting, the Gemara calls people that daven early vasikin, right? Rashi says it's makdim in the mitzvahs. These people are chapping the mitzvah as quick as possible, as early as possible, because obviously you can't daven shachris by day, so they want to daven, by night, they daven by day. When by day? The beginning of the day. So they chap the mitzvah, right? Zrizim makdim in the mitzvah, as quick as possible, as early as they can, right? Which is why you're meant to finish Krishma pretty much right before Nates, right before the sunrise, and then you daven Shemon Esra as the sun rises in that case. So that's called Vasikin, that's called davening Nates, that's of course the most lechatchila. By the way, the Torah brings in Arachaim Sebenun Ches, that those people that daven Nates, that daven Vasikin, Schoroi Harbe Ma'oid, huge schar they get for davening Nates. It's guaranteed that they will be a ben olam haba. They will not be damaged that entire day. So if you want to guarantee not to be damaged that entire day, Efsha, follow Chazal. I mean, for sure, Chazal tell us that you should daven Nates and you'll be 100% okay over there. Now, what happens if you didn't do that? I didn't daven Nates. It's too early for me. It's not convenient. It's not my minyan in yeshiva. Whatever it may be, the excuse that you use. I didn't daven Nates. What's the next stage after that? So generally, you've got until the 4th hour of the day, which is a third of the day. The Gemara Bracha tells us Tesam at base. That is what's called Soif Zman Tefillah. Now, if you look in any luach, in any Jewish calendar, you look at myzmanim.com, whatever it may be, you will find something called Soif Zman Tefillah. That's what Soif Zman Tefillah is, right? It's basically the 4th halachic hour, not the hour on your watch, right? It's the 4th halachic hour. We take the day and we break it up into 12 parts, so it depends on summer and winter how big those parts are. But Al Koponim, it's the 4th halachic hour of the day. At the end of that is now Soif Zman Tefillah. That means that you miss now the schar, the reward of davening, and you get the schar for davening bizman, whereas you can still daven. And that's very important. If you miss Zman Tefillah, you could still daven. You get schar Tefillah, as the Gemara tells us. You just don't get the schar of Tefillah bizmana. Now, that's Soif Zman Tefillah. What's after that? What happens? Again, once in a lifetime, a guy misses Soif Zman Tefillah. What do you want from him right now? What's he meant to do now? So the answer is, the Rambam tells us clearly in Hilchos Nesias Kapayim, Perek Gimel Halacha Aleph, you have until Chatzos. And that's the Ma'aseh of the Shulchan Aruch's Psak, Nerachaim, Siman Pei Tesif Aleph, that you've got up until Chatzos, which means that after Chatzos, it's the only time in 24 hours of the day that you're not allowed to daven Shachris or Mincha. It's a half an hour period of time after Chatzos. You cannot daven Mincha yet, and you also can't daven Shachris. So it's actually the only time in 24-hour period of the day that you're not allowed to daven an official Shemona Esra, Shachris, obviously not Mariv, Shachris and Mincha. However, I will tell you, just want to tell the Olim a few colors. There's a Me'iri. The Me'iri is Mekel for a half an hour after Chatzos, and he says you can still daven Shachris in that case. It seems to be the Kesef Mishnah also goes with that. The Bach at the beginning of Peitefsi base also wants to say till the Zman of actual Mincha, which is a half an hour after Chatzos, you could still daven Shachris, and it sounds like the Taz is Mekel b'di'evet. So of course, not lachat to do such a thing, but if a person is stuck, you still get, according to many Rishonim and Achronim, you still get schar for davening, and you can still daven Shachris at that stage. Obviously, once or half an hour after Chatzos, now it's the Zman of Mincha, so now you daven Mincha with Tefillin. Okay, that's a different sugya. Now, next, halacha number 2 for today is Krishma. Also very important, we're dealing with the Doraisa now. I don't know why we went the other way around, but that's how we did it. Krishma is a mitzvah Doraisa, to read in the morning and in the evening. It's a Doraisa like eating matzah on Pesach. It's a Doraisa like listening to Kriyas Amalek that people are very makpid on, right? They're running around to hear different kriyas to make sure they got the right havara, right? So Lemaisa Kriya Shema every single day is a mitzvah d'oraisa. Listen to this Gemara, Rabbi say. Brachos to Dalet Mabes. Omar Ula, Kol HaKoyre Kriya Shema Beloy Tefillin. Anyone that reads Kriya Shema without tefillin, and this could be negeya, by the way, right? You wake up, you're like, oh no, Zman Kriya Shema. Okay, I'll say Kriya Shema now before I go downstairs. Hold on a minute. The Gemara says, Kol HaKoyre Kriya Shema Beloy Tefillin. If you say Kriya Shema without your tefillin on, Ki'ilu Meid Edu Sheker Ba'atzmai. Your edus is sheker. You're giving false testimony. The Gemara continues, gefährliche Sachen. For a person that reads Kriya Shema without tefillin, what's the problem? So Rashi tells us. Rashi says the reason is, what does it say in Kriya Shema? Focus on the words that you're saying. Look at the art scroll, read the English. It's talking about the mitzvah of tefillin. It has the mitzvah of tefillin in Kriya Shema. So here you are talking about the obligation to wear tefillin when you're not wearing tefillin. So I understand that night is not Zman tefillin. About the morning, about it is. So the Gemara says a terrible thing for a person that says Kriya Shema without tefillin on. Shulchan Aruch, by the way, is a psak lemais of this Gemara in Erechaim Simon Chofei Siv Dalet. Tzorich she tefillin olav b'shas Kriya Shema. Your tefillin needs to be on when you say Kriya Shema. It's a mitzvah d'oraisa. How long do I have? How long do I have? So we have something called, again, look at the luach, look at the calendar. Each place of the world will be a different time, depending on the time of year. Soif Zman Kriya Shema. Now you'll notice Soif Zman Kriya Shema has two Zmanim, right? There's the Magen Avraham, right? And there's the Gra, Balatanya, whatever. Magen Avraham and the Gra, Magen Avraham and the Gra. Right? So I'm not going into now what should you follow. Of course, Lachatcheli, you try to go with the earlier one because Avada Mitzvahs Kriya Shema is D'oraisa. But whatever it is, they argue, by the way, on how to work it out. Do you start from Nates or do you start from Alois? That's the kasha. That's how they work it out. Halachic hours. We're not going into that. That's the nafkamina. But there are nafkaminas in the luach in what it is. It's the third halachic hour of the day. It's a quarter of the day, and we learn it from the Gemara. Mishnah Paskins halacha lamaisa. We say in Kriya Shema uvku mecha zman kima. Has to be the time that people get up. Malachim get up at that time. Mimela, you've got until the end of the third halachic hour of the day. That's called soif zman Kriya Shema. Now Rabbi said this is very, very, very important. The Gemara tells us Chagiga Daf Tes. This is something you cannot make up. It's not like Tefillah. Meaning Tefillah, if you miss Tefillah, there's something called Tashlumim. You can make it up, you can figure it out. You missed the Zman Kriya Shema, you missed it. The D'oraisa is gone. Avada, you should still read it. Kabbalah Somach Shemayim, beautiful. But Avada, you missed the D'oraisa. So that's why it's important. If you know you're going to sleep in late, not you chas v'shalom, if people know that they're going to sleep in late, maybe they should get up, maybe they should wash negavasa, maybe say Kriya Shema, even without Tefillin, and go back to sleep. Because at least they're getting a d'oraisa. It's very, very important. By the way, there's a modik Ovos to Rav Nosson. The Ovos to Rav Nosson on the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos in Perik Gimel, Mishnah Yud, that says, Shina shel shachos metzinas ha'odam el ha'olam. Sleep in the morning takes a person out of this world. Says the Ovos to Rav Nosson, it's talking about a person that misses Zman Kriya Shema. He's sleeping in the morning. It's moisinus ha'odam el ha'olam because he's missing Zman Kriya Shema. So yes, of course you're meant to have your tefillin on Zman Kriya Shema because the Gemara says terrible things about a person that doesn't. But at the end of the day, if you know that the Zman is getting late, the minyan is getting late, you're late, whatever it may be, then of course you should absolutely say Kriya Shema even though you are without tefillin. Of course, if you could quickly cut your tefillin on, say Kriya Shema and take it off and continue later on with the minyan, that would be even better in that case. By the way, just very quickly before we finish, Birchas HaShacha, the Olim sometimes ask, now what happens when it comes to Birchas HaShacha? So Birchas HaShacha, of course, should be said before Shachris, but if a person is late, and he walks in late, whatever it is, and he needs to skip, in order to do that, he can skip Chalokim or Birchas HaShacha, and say after davening, as long as it is within the Zman HaTefillah, but the Evet, you have until Chatzos to say Birchas HaShacha, and Birchas Kriya Shema, by the way, the brachas that surround Kriya Shema, also can be said up until Chatzos. Mitzvah Hashem. We'll try to see how much more we have to do. Tomorrow we'll start a brand new sugya, or we'll continue in the same sugar. We'll see what happens over there. But that's the Zmanu of Tefillah, Rabbi Sai. Try to be makpid, try to chaparang, but even if you miss the Zman Tefillah, you still get the schar of davening. Have a wonderful day.